Something we get asked a lot is how to paint armor this color or that color. Well, in this tutorial, we're going to teach you how to paint armor any color in just 3+ steps. So it's a very scalable tutorial. We're going to go from a base color, can be whatever you like, even metallic, that's covered at the end of the tutorial with a hammer. We're then going to stipple on extremely roughly, you don't need to worry about this being neat, a shade step to push the contrast a little bit. We're then going to repeat a stipple of our base coat, and after that you can highlight if you like, or you could just dry brush and finish it off with a highlight color. Very, very easy and very, very scalable if you want to spend more or less time. Don't forget to check out our gold trim video if you want to see some more information on how the gold trim was done. And if you want to enhance it, I'll make sure that the appropriate tutorial with my Terminator, where I enhanced it with glazing and did quite a good end job on that, is linked at the end as well. Give us your suggestions for a future tutorial. We've had some fantastic ones recently. Final note, you can scale this to big stuff or small stuff, tanks or infantry. Just change the brush size that you're using. I'm getting a lot of use out of the small plus and medium plus in this tutorial. Let's go. All right, step 1, achieve your base coat however you like. You can stipple it, you can airbrush it, you can smush it, you can spray can it, absolutely fine. Step 2, because we're going to be stippling, can you see those little bits of dust in my water? Go and change your water. Contamination doesn't matter, dust does. Okay, brush of choice is going to be small plus. I'm getting a lot of use out of this at the moment for infantry. 1 drop, pop it in. Now, this step, everything I'm saying about the stippling in terms of placement or color or dilution or whatever, you can apply that to glazing, you can apply that to airbrushing. Don't, because I'm using this, think that the principles don't apply to other stuff, because they do. So I've chosen this color and I'm going to be carefully stippling a glaze, which is something that we've been doing more and more recently, onto the shadowed areas of the armor. Got our brownish green, got our lovely burgundy. It's on the very tip of the brush only. See my test there? I'm stippling something soft. I'm going to start on the shield, start on the bottom where I want it darker, and we're way better off too soft than too harsh. That's in terms of how much paint is on the brush, how much of the burgundy I've used, all that stuff. That is too soft though. Take a tiny bit more, pull it in. I'm dragging it across carefully. I'm not putting it into the middle of the brush. Uh-oh. Obviously that's a lot darker, so proceed with caution. Make sure your previous stage has dried. Okay, we're a bit better. How did that get there? Right, that's it. All the downwards facing areas here on the underside. If you hit the upside of another area, you can wipe it off with your finger, but don't worry about it too much because we're probably going to highlight those anyway. Make sure if you're doing it multiple times in one area, you let the previous time dry. I cannot overemphasize how important that is. Same as all painting. Nothing wrong with a wet finger to fix mistakes. You animals. Someone's going to comment, they always do. With that achieved, I'm going to step down size-wise, extra small plus, being a little bit more careful with how much water I put in because it's easy to oversaturate a smaller brush. Taking a tiny bit of our pure green, test them stipples, and then I'm just going to counter anywhere where I think I've been messy. Essentially, upwards facing bits. And if I stipple this on a border, I will soften it, as in soften the transition from dark to light. Really simple, very effective. This is the strength of the technique. You see this chest section, I can just block it in. So I didn't need to worry about being neat with the first one because the second one's come in. That speeds it up a lot. Okay, so medium. You could use medium plus. You could probably even get away with a large for this, honestly. And we're going for an ultra soft dry brush here. Soft in pressure, fairly diluted, not that much on the brush. This is to catch any raised areas that for some reason are still dark. Head's perfect example here. You can go top to bottom if you want to kind of keep that effective lighting. It should just soften everything up. Circles when in doubt. Now, because we're dry brushing this, the areas that you're gonna miss, same with airbrushing to a degree actually, is to do with access. So I can't get to that shoulder, weapon's in the way. So I'm just gonna take extra care to make sure that it's not missed. Okay, so there is no shortcut for this section. You just gotta base coat your bits. Sorry, pop good audiobook on, do whatever you want, but it'll be worth it. So highlight time. I've added Vallejo Ivory, and it's just stippling. And let's pretend that I didn't zone out and do gold when I shouldn't have. So pretend that I've turned everything brown at this point. You could do this with edge highlighting, whatever you like. Follow a reference if you prefer. Just catch your edges. Just do the face and the chest because you're trying to be efficient, whatever it is. If you are going to spend some time on it, don't forget their knees. Their knees look great when they've been done. Stipple, stipple, stipple. It's forgiving. Test it somewhere first. It will look good. We always talk about using a reference. If you don't know how to place your highlights or you don't have a plan, use a plan. Copy out someone else's miniature. Use the reference from your light. Probably things appearing on screen now, but don't try and guess at it if you're not confident. So once you have stippled a couple of areas, you can put an edge highlight on them if you want with a normal brush, or you can dry brush it. So if I go to the back of this, dry brush is fine. Remember the direction of your stroke. Could probably actually get, ooh, maybe I could just be dry brushing it generally. It's a little bit wet actually for it. Yeah, if I'd set my brush up, I could have just been dry brushing normally now. Or of course, you can grab yourself a nice brush, use exactly the same mix, and you could highlight your edges in the traditional way. Up to you if you want to do all of them, just upwards facing ones from like the chest up, whatever you think is going to be the most efficient and fits with your time goals. If you've got messy areas where you've done the dark stippling, popping an edge on will work wonders to pull attention away from them, and it will make your painting look smoother than it is. It is going to take time, but it might make other results on the miniature look smoother than they already are, which is a nice bonus. Okay, so that's made a real difference. You can spend as much time as you want here, or as little. You can do it fast, you can do it slow. My main points of concern were top of the shield, because it's a shield and it's important. And then essentially this line that runs down here, I wanted the knee, the boot, which is really blunt actually, it's not even carefully stippled. This section looks quite nice, top of the knee. Big flat chest is more bright in the middle than it is at the edges, and it's a little bit on the top of the face. They've all been covered and that's doing quite a lot of work along with this. That's enough. Let's not talk about the back. Ignore the back. Okay, next step. These two mixed. Now, do check out our gold trim video because I'm essentially doing that. That is in depth and I'm going to do it faster here. I've mixed these two for stage one and that's been done all over our gold areas. The gold areas were just our burgundy mixed with Retributor armor. And now I'm just going to shrink the area that I wash in. So take something like Reichland, I always get corrected on this. Mix that with the green instead of the sepia, which is a very, very soft one. Reichland's quite a bit darker. Incidentally, you can use this mix to dot rivets if you want, or you could use the previous mix. The areas where stuff already pulled, I'm going to pop this in. Do check out our gold trim video because there's a much more in-depth explanation of it there. Essentially, you do one wash, and where stuff pulls, you repeat within that pull for the second wash. So you just shrink your areas. It's like reverse highlighting. So you make an area darker, and then you make a little bit of that darker, and you make a little bit of that darker. That's it. And because we're doing this with the green, things are going to stay super coherent. It's a wash, so you can use directional strokes to control exactly what's going on. Remember that gravity is in effect 24 hours a day. So if I were to take this area and then like tip it like that, stuff would start running down. If I just have it at this angle, it's going to do exactly what I want and what gravity always does, which is just, it's going to pull against this edge, which is where I want it to. So think about your direction that you're holding it while you're doing it. If you've got any lines you want to exaggerate for panel lining purposes, like this stomach section, now is a great time to do it. All right, so the Reichland is out again. You can see me pushing towards the areas that I want it the darkest. It's always really important to control your stroke and your flow with washes. So on those scales, I'm going to go towards the top, and then I'll dry brush towards the bottom, and I'll shade the top and highlight the bottom. Here again, pushing towards the area we wanted the lightest when we've pulled towards the area we wanted the darkest with a shade, and so each of these will complement the other. Note how when I take paint, how focused it is towards the tip of the brush. This is one of the ways that you can get your brushes to last for longer, especially high quality ones. I'll really appreciate this and reward you for the good behavior. Gentle dry brushing now, just buffing it up. Rather than going for lighter and lighter colors, you can just repeat the same step carefully, and the successive layers will add on to the raised areas particularly well. on anything that's meant to be like embossed, that detail is very special. We've taken our burgundy and we've mixed it in with our silver, and while that might have looked really strong on the palette, the reason it doesn't look so strong on the model is because everything has that burgundy in it. So the coherency, we're kind of really being rewarded for here. We'll reduce the amount as we go towards highlights, but especially for the base. It's a really nice and easy, solid way to promote coherency across a model. The entire model is looking quite kind of verdant and green, I would say. We've kept things pretty natural color-wise. Now, this is kind of like lazy black lining. You can do it afterwards with washing, and it's really going to help separate those areas. You're rewarded for it. It makes things read very clearly visually, especially around the embossing areas like that. Whoops. Okay, with everything kind of in place and us approaching completion, we still need to do the silvers. You can see I've done a little bit here, just keeping it simple. I've put a wash around the edge to help define the edges, and I'm currently deciding if scratches would be a good idea. The money shot, where there's the lighting, is still definitely the best angle. I just need to put some simple silvers down on the hammer. So I've got my flat base, which is just the burgundy we've been using everywhere, and that's been mixed with the silver. And what we're going to do is we're going to wash it down and then bring it back up. I'm going to take quite a soft approach. Non-oil is a black, but it's quite a soft black at that, so should be fine. My aim is to have this like a dark steel, but I want it to be quite scratched. And maybe should have started with a lighter base. I guess we'll find out. So because I want a lot of my lower edges to be my brighter edges, an easy way for me to handle this is just kind of hold it upside down. All my washes are going to run upwards on the model then, which is the areas that I want to be darker. And rather than kind of fighting gravity, it's just always easier to work with it if possible. There's a couple of ways that we could approach this. I'm just going to do a little bit of stippling, as they're pretty much large flat areas. So you might have noticed the marks that I have on them. They're the edges that I've decided I want to be the lightest. And I'm just going to do exactly the same type of stippling we've done all over our model, but you can see it's already kind of working there with the light. The bottom edge is going to be the shiniest, the top edge will be the darkest. I'm going to do that all over. Maybe we'll need to rewash, especially the recesses, but it's a pretty fast way to build up the texture nicely. And as this is a weapon, especially, I'm okay with it looking a little bit like dented, I guess. But yeah, we'll build that up. It's not going to take too long, and we'll just repeat. Very easy. I'm just treating, because it's flattish, I'm just treating every, but I didn't drop that into silver. I'm just going to treat every single aspect of it as one flat plane, regardless of the ins and outs. Very easy. Look at that. Then we will increase the portion of the silver a little. It's very, very strong. It's really important we keep on the dilution here. Light pressure. I'd say take your time, but it goes so quick. Just don't rush, basically. You'll be fine. Cool. Maybe I should have pushed the top darker, because I like how it looks at the top where it's kind of scratchy, showing up a little bit of age going on there. I'm just going to repeat that and go backwards and forwards a bit, and then maybe we can put some actual freehand scratches on. That's so good for the time though. It's unbelievable for the time. Maybe I should have done that elsewhere, actually, like here. Repeating the same mix that we had before. I'm going to take a lot of it off the brush. And then again, let's not fight gravity. I mean, you could if you're glazing, but it's going to pull slightly, so we may as well just have it working with us. And you can go over the entire thing, because obviously it'll do more in the darker non-shiny sections than it would do in the shiny sections, or you could keep it to the darker sections. Up to you. It's within your control, and it's pretty hard to go wrong here, I would say. Just adding age here, which is a lovely thing to be able to add like this. Most care about this because it's our front-facing bit-ish, and this bit because it's also-ish front-facing. Cool. Now I've got the same brush, which is pretty much cleaned of metallics, but I'm looking to do a very soft final stage. So I'm basically cleaning my brush onto my model at this stage. This is very soft, delicate dry brushing. And this should just catch those edges, top bits. It's making a tiny difference, but it's an important difference. Oh dear. Completely forgot to put washes on the top. Okay, so teeny tiny brush. If you want to see more about kind of controlling the amount of paint on your brush, and I guess you'd qualify this as freehand, do check out our tiger stripes video. It's got a really good section on it. Essentially, I want a very small amount of well-flowing, strong paint. I want to brace well, and we just got to have faith. We will start off by warming up on the edges, And I'm going to highlight these with a little bit of, I basically just want it to be a broken line. I don't want it to be a smooth one. It would look too crisp on something like that, especially when we're trying to make it look battered. Right, if we're going to do scratches, we need the paint that we have to be able to leave easily and to make a very fine line. And really, if he was hitting things, there should be quite a lot going kind of front to back. You should be using a larger brush here. This one's drying out a little bit too thick. I think that'll do for now. They're not going perfectly, so rather than screw it up, I'll just stop there. I think we can pretty much call it there. See what difference a good base makes. So I've just done a normal base and I've stuck some tufts on it. The smaller ones are 2mm high, which is a really useful height for looking fairly realistic. There we go. Magic, right? It's got quite a lot of coherency here. It's not the same browns, but it is some browns. And then obviously we've got a somewhat similar green to what we've got going on. I think that works pretty well as an army scheme. It is the methods though, not the colors here. You could do this with blues, you could do it with greens, you could do it with black. Black armor like this will look really, really good with some careful gray highlighting. And the metallic method, that is not just for metallics on the trim. That works for everything. You just shrink your washes as you get towards the detailed areas like the rivets, and it works much better on more detailed sections. You can't use that technique with the wash, shrinking areas unless it's a very detailed one. But most trim, that's the reason it's got rivets. Small areas or detailed ones. I lied, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an area that's not super precious on the Stormcast, and we're going to test out how some scratching looks. Because it didn't go perfectly on the hammer, so let's try it on the body, right? That seems to make sense. Tip drying. It has to be flying off the brush well, or it just won't work. That's what we're looking to avoid. That's better. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it on the good bit. You can decide whether you want to do scratches, up to you. This goes so much better if it's actually next to your nose. I'm going to try and do a good one. This is how it should go if it's closer to you. There we go, get it right next to your nose. Tank top picture, here. Next to your nose, breathe. And try and hold it in focus. How brave are we feeling? For anyone who doesn't know this product, it's a perfect blood effect one. You can't use it with water, it goes really weird, so I'm stippling it on with a currently dry brush that I'll clean afterwards. The product is Tamiya Clear Red. Oh dear, I didn't scratch the top of the hammer. Too late. Less is more. I have too much fun with this type of product often, and it's kind of to the detriment of my final job, so I'll be disciplined this time. I can already feel it drying out. It is quite difficult to work with. Got to work a little bit faster. And then let's be very brave. Let's get the right angle for this, but can use this to both draw attention to and distract away from issues on key areas. So you can highlight your mistakes and hide them at the same time. Less is more, I reckon that will probably do. There's a chip there on the shield. All right, we're good. Sweet. Not on the gems, I'm just going to catch those with a light blue or something, I think. And we are done. This turned out really well. Like I said, you can do it with any paints pretty much. Metallic, non, bright blue, darker colors, whatever you fancy you can do with this. Don't forget to check out our Terminator tutorial if you're looking how to enhance it. I'd use a little bit of glazing over the top in a very similar method. It's a very forgiving place to try glazing for the first time on top of stippling, because stippling isn't perfectly smooth. So when you glaze over it, if you make some small mistakes or there's a little bit of pooling or something, it gets hidden within all the dots a lot more than it would do on a perfectly smooth surface. So I'd really recommend giving that a go. If you want to do fancy gold trim absolutely check out the gold trim video that's linked as well. A lot of users have tried that out, viewers rather, or customers, and they've got some fantastic results. So there's something about that tutorial that's really worked for everyone. And some of them have done a better job than I did. Thank you very much for watching. Pop your suggestions down below for an upcoming tutorial. And if it's good, maybe we'll give it a go and we'll give a prize to the best suggestion. Catch you in the next video.